On this episode of The Sequence, I'm finally tackling time stretch face on. Let's go! The Sequence. So I have plans of making a video where I compare the MPC Live X01 to other existing groove boxes that have time stretch. Like for example, the Machine Plus, because I own that, and the Polyend Tracker, because I own that. There's another one. Oh, the Roland MV1. I keep on forgetting I have that. But let's go ahead and start with the lesson here. So the main thing I want to do is this right here. So I'm gonna play the sample track. And I have a sample right here, and it's at 73 BPM, and it sounds perfect. But now, since I chopped it up using, basically the sample edit mode or whatnot, let's see if I can stretch it out, because that's the main thing that I want people to see. So you heard that it was struggling to keep up with the time correction as we went. And yeah, that's something that, most people would be upset about, because on a computer, something like Ableton Live or something like that, it would not do that. So let's go ahead and get into a few factors for that. But the first thing I want to do is just show you how to counter that. So let's go ahead and press the pencil sign right here for this track. And what we're going to do from there is bounce to either audio track or sample. So I'm just going to go ahead and bounce it to a sample, because if I bounce it to an audio track, there's something that will be annoying about it. So I just bounce that sample down. What I'm going to do is just open up or hit the plus sign for the drum program, and then we're going to assign a sample to it. So we're going to assign that sample to this pad right here, okay? And once you get that done and click on the data wheel to bring in the bounced sample into here, you'll be able to hear it. So exiting out of the screen, just hit main, and then I'm gonna hit stop just to stop the sample for right now. We're gonna go right over here to warp samples. Boom. So we have this new program, and if I hit this pad, you'll see the pre-existing sample that's in there. It says bounce sample. You will also notice that a lot of the information will be in there. You see that it says the key right here, which is a D sharp minor, which is what was processed from a previous video because this beat was made before. But what I want to do is hit warp. And now when I hit warp, now it'll be able to time stretch. So it's not as difficult as many people would make it seem. And you can just go into shift and main, and then you can go and just clear out the notes or whatever. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit shift. So I'm just gonna go out, I'm gonna go and pitch this whole entire thing down, and then just grab the selection tool, and there we are. We're just gonna leave it from right here and delete everything. I could have just hit the erase button, but I don't know. I'm just not used to using the the erase button for some reason on the MPC. But yeah, we're just going to delete everything that's in the piano roll for right now. You could do this on a separate track too, by the way. You don't have to do it on the track that you did the samples, but I'm not going to save this. So going from here, I'm just going to make a, let's go back in the grid. So I have A1 here. Let's go ahead and drop a little square sign there. So it's on A1 here. What I'm gonna do is just hit the pencil sign and then just make an event right there. And then you can just choose edit and stretch it out. You don't necessarily have to do all this either, but just for good looks, I'll just do it for right now. And yeah, let's go back in the main. Track is back there. And now let's stretch it out. All right, let's go to BPM. I think the main thing that would be obvious for most people is that the quality of that sample has went down a wee bit when you time stretch it now, but it can time stretch in itself. If you're picky about that, I don't know what to tell you. But one thing I can say is go into your preferences here. So let's go and press menu, hit this cogwheel right here, and then we're gonna go into some of our settings, which is this right here, where it says audio warped algorithm, and it say Pro 10. So it says Pro 10 here. For some people, it might say basically CPU. No, it uses less CPU, but the quality will be worse. Pro 10 is the better quality. And yeah, you also can choose to audio track auto warp. And that would be cool too as well if you know that you're gonna do a lot of sample-based loops and stuff like that. And then you can set your detection range, which, these are things I don't necessarily mess with, but those are things that are overlooked when you're doing like time stretching. And yeah, so you're basically just time stretched your first sample, and that's one way to get around that particular quirk, especially when you chop up a sample and you want it to be slower and you have that little struggling parts where you have empty space. There is sample tails, but I'll get into that in another video because I want to talk about the new program edit mode in version 2.10, which is phenomenal. So, tell me how you feel about this video. I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comments section. Yeah, so when it comes down to time stretch, there is a few things that I want to do in terms of future videos. Like I want to compare it to the Machine Plus, because I know that's what everybody wants me to do. And even the Polyend Tracker, which has time stretch now as well. But if I was to expound on time stretching for what it is, you can see that it's pretty easy to do. It's not like the quickest of things to do like in Ableton Live, but you gotta weigh things in when you are using something like a Groovebox, which is a computer, but it's not going to be the best spec computer, and it's not going to be like Ableton Live. But yeah, as far as the algorithm goes, yeah, great on drums. Obviously, it can detect all of the different points of like a drum line, and therefore make a good raw calculation of what the BPM should be like versus a melodic. And yeah, it's a bit problematic, and I would love to see a little bit of improvement. I don't necessarily care about the audio quality, given that most audio quality on samples in modern day music, you wouldn't really judge it off of that unless you're one of those pointless producers that just like to point out the negative in everything. Then you're never going to be satisfied, and that's kind of where I stand when it comes to time stretching. But yeah, point taken, point given, granted, and yeah, like it does time stretch. Does it time stretch the same way as other machines when it comes to loops? Yes and no, but we'll see what it'll do in the near future.